Hello, everybody, and welcome to the December 9th Trips and Traps. I'm Andy Serling, joined by Eric Donovan.
One episode to bring you this week with 3 races, and we'll start off with the 8th race from the past Friday, December 3rd. We're taking a look at the rail horse, and here the 1, 8 Love Grand beneath David Cohn, is under a hustling ride from the start.
Yeah, it's very interesting. She breaks maybe a stride slowly as there she is down on the inside. You can see her quite easily, and you see how aggressive David Cohn is, and not knocking aggressive riding per se, and the rail is positionally difficult sometimes, but there was a ton of speed signed on here.
There was a ton of speed sign here, on here, and you can see, the 3-horse Electric Gold kind of jockey taking a hold of Electric Gold a little bit, but the 2 other horses to the outside of 8 Love Grand are on the pace, and they're going fairly easily. David Cohn's still pumping away in 8 Love Grand. At one point on the backstretch, do you say, well, this isn't going to work out, maybe I should ease up a little bit and sit a little pocket trip here? Yeah,
it's very, very strange, and he goes, it's complete contrast what happens here. The other horse who's on the pace, the horse in front, actually wins the race. Watch here as David Cohn is sort of taking the horse in hand, and you can see basically here at this point, he has stopped riding, and it actually gets exaggerated. And you watch this horse. He's basically standing up at this point in the horse, and he's not riding him at all, or her at all. Now, she was not going to win this race, but at one point you're trying. Now he sort of gives her a little nudge, and he hits her. He knows he's not going to win, and it's not as though he cost this horse any positioning. But I think she loses by a little more than she would have. I mean, at this point, she's in a full-out ease back in the pack. And it was a contrast in styles, and this race wasn't a good spot for her to begin with. But she's not as bad as she'll look in the PPs once the PPs come out for this race.
I agree with you 100%. We'll see where she ends up in her next spot there. But, just being down inside was a tough spot to begin with, and especially when they, made that tactical decision to gun for the lead at all costs, and that didn't work out either. So you're right. The fact that, he took it easy on her in the stretch is only going to, make this horse look a little worse in the past performances. And next time out, I think she's going to be a bet.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'll be very interested to see where this horse shows up, because she's nowhere near as bad as this race makes her look, and maybe in a more appropriate spot she can get the money at slightly inflated odds. We'll move on to another race as we get later in the week. We had 4 days of racing last week, and we'll show you 2 races from Sunday, both around 2 turns. The first one involves a Darley entry.
Darley entry of the 1 Call Again, who breaks a little bit slowly there, and on the outside, Bernadini's little sister. And we'll take a look at them into the first turn in here, and you see Bernadette on the outside looking to angle in at this point here, where Call Again is just trying to also save some ground in the turn, but it doesn't work out.
Yeah, well, the problem is that Call Again gets away from the rider, and Bernadette on the outside, the entry mate, takes the worst of it. And you think where she is positionally at this point, and as you see Call Again, Alan Garcia can't control her and she bears out. It really takes Bernadette out of the race where she's so far back, and I think she's lost about 2 lengths or so of positioning, and Javier Castellano, through no fault of his own, loses his position here. And don't forget, it's also a race that's won wire to wire.
Status pending, the horse on the front, able to set a comfortable pace going a half in 49 and 4, and it'll be Bernadette who's on the outside, not chasing the whole way, but losing ground continually. Not so much a big deal on the backstretch, but when you get to the far turn, considering what happened on the first turn, it's going to make a difference here.
Where are you going from here? You've got a situation where the co-favorite and the horse to beat is up front, the favorite's the second choice outside of him, and you're all the way back here, and you've gotten positionally shoved back there because of your entry mate, which makes it worse. It's bad enough when it happens because it's just sort of a racing flaw, which this was, but when it's your entry mate who ends up running poorly anyway, and then you have to say, what was she even doing in there? And poor Bernadette probably wasn't winning this race, but it's another case of a horse that's running line looks worse than it is.
And she's kind of forced to make a little bit of an early move around the turn here just to get in contention, because as you said, the 2 favorites are running 1-2. They're not going fast up front, so she's kind of forced to, her hand into making an early move in here, and she'll get second, beaten 4 1/4 lengths at the finish. Don't know, considering all the trouble in the race, if she actually would have beaten Status Pending in here, but it would have been closer.
It would have been a lot closer. Bernadette is not a superstar at this point. Could she improve? Yes, we hope she does. We love Bernadini. But she is a horse that's a little bit better. In fact, I think more than a little bit better than she looks on paper. How good these horses are in the grand scheme of things is highly debatable. But Bernadette is a horse that will look worse than she is. And if she's running next time against a horse that appears a little faster in speed figures, she could make up that distance.
All right, one more race to bring you also from Sunday. We'll take a look at race number 7, an eventful run into the first turn for Pony Colada and Masala, affected by Heart Butte.
Yeah, now we'll show the head-on after this race, and you see Pony Colada sort of stumbles a little bit. Both Pony Colada and Masala are a little bit slow coming out, neither one affecting the other one. They're just both slow. Heart Butte, the eventual winner of this race, is outside of them. And we're going to show this very clearly on the head-on. As they're heading to the first turn, the 2 horses from the start, Pony Colada and Masala. Masala's what we're most interested in. Going to the inside position. They have the position. David Cohen is out here on the eventual winner, Heart Butte, and he is looking inside to see if he can come over. Well, he comes over, and he interferes with both of those horses and hurts their chance to win this race as he's getting perfect position. It's the best of all worlds for Heart Butte. Not only did he get a perfect trip and perfect position, but he eliminated his biggest competition.
Yeah, indeed. And Pony Colada was a 7-5 favorite in this race. Masala, a long shot, but certainly had a chance to win on paper in this race too. And you just see, exactly what you were talking about there, where Heart Butte is right now and where the two other horses are. And considering those two other horses had trouble at the start on their own, they didn't need any extra trouble going into the turn.
No, there's absolutely no question about it. And you can see Masala in the back of the pack with Junior Alvarado. He's sort of wrangling him in. He just ends up the bad break, getting shut off onto the first turn. Nothing went right for them. Everything went right for Heart Butte. And Heart Butte wins this race by 3 lengths at the end. Heart Butte runs well. It's an improving horse for Todd Pletcher, but Masala is 3 3/4 behind. In a fairly run race, Masala wins.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it when it comes through the stretch here. And, I think it takes a while for Masala to kick in. It seems like the race is kind of, I don't want to say going in slow motion, but really no one's making a move in the stretch until Masala gets going late here. But you see Masala right outside of the 2-horse Pony Colada right now. They still have, a lot to do at this point here.
Absolutely. I mean, not only that, Heart Butte's angling out with the sweetest of trips, and there are those two back here. Now, while Pony Colada never really makes a run in here, Masala makes a dramatic run. It shows the difference between their two performances and that both of them were compromised in similar fashions and in the same spot in the backstretch, and Masala will run away from the other one. It's also a situation where Pony Colada's down the inside and Masala has that clear outside run, and for all those that think that we're crazy that horses want to run outside of other horses, maybe this is another example of that.
Could be. I don't know. I'm not so sure that Pony Colada is all that great in here. But
I agree.
You see what I'm saying before about Masala getting into the race late again, whereas, at the 3/16 pole, you're going to say, well, maybe it'll be 4th or 5th or something like that. And we'll take a look at the head on that.
First, let's watch the 2 and 3 as they both sort of stumble their way out of the gate. I mean, nobody stumbles particularly, but they're just the 2 Pony Colada stumbles a little, loses his footing, but they're both off a little bit slow. But we have a very interesting point to show you. As David Cohen, you can watch him on the 6. Now, keep your eye on him. Now, these are the 2 inside. But keep your eye on David Cohen out here. He will look over. You see him look at those horses. He's trying to make sure he has room. He looks, but he doesn't have the room, and he still comes over, and you can see very clearly that those 2 horses are interfered with as the riders have to steady. I'm not saying Heart Butte should have been disqualified. We're not, but the point is, regardless of that, these are horses that got interfered with and had their chances clearly hampered.
Yeah, I agree 100%, and looking forward to betting Masala next time out. And we'll see Pony Colada, a horse that was 7-5 in this race that, didn't really do too much running after that show. But perhaps, maybe he's a little bit forgotten about next time and goes off at a fair, decent enough price where you might want to take a shot.
Right, he's better than this race, but perhaps not as good as the 7-5
right.
odds were in that race. He was very strangely, very, very heavily bet for Steve Asmussen. It's not as though it was Steve Asmussen in a desert. Todd Pletcher won the race. He had 2 in there, so there was a lot of good talent in there. Anyway, that does it for this week's Trips and Traps. Once again, trips and traps at NYRAInc.com. That's the email address. We'd love to hear your thoughts, and we'll see you soon.